welcome to the channel. In this video I want to talk about commercial salting. This is my first year getting into commercial salting, and I want to talk about my experience with salting. So here's a look at my salt that I'm using. I usually just get it by the pallet. We're close to the end of the season, so this will be my last pallet. Normally I'll stack it up, but I've just found it easier just to leave it on the trailer. I'm not doing much with the trailer right now. So I picked this up. These run like $300 or so. I can't remember exact price, maybe $330. And it's 56 bags of salt, 50-pound bags each. And it's not the cheapest way to get salt, but it works out for my situation because I do not have a big spreader in the truck where I can get loaded. I pretty much use a small spreader, so you need to use bag salt, and it does work out because I don't have a whole lot of space, and it just will become a lot of logistics when it comes to carrying bulk salt. You know, you need a supplier. I have a supplier that's close, but then you'd have to always time everything when they're open and all that kind of stuff. So this works out good because I can store my own material and I don't have to worry about it. But anyway, guys, I want to show you what I'm doing with salt. This is pretty much just my experience with it. So enjoy, and I just want to talk about what's involved. See you guys at the next scene. Alright, just getting loaded up here. Here's a shot of the material. We're using 4 bags of rock salt. We're using the Isoweigh product. It's pretty good stuff. It works just as good as like the Morton Isoweigh or Morton rock salt. But anyway, guys, this year, being my first year getting into salting, I went ahead and got a walk behind salt spreader from the local landscape supply, and I think I paid like $200 for the thing. It has survived through a few tons of salt, so I've been pretty happy with it. Definitely was a lot cheaper than going with the big spreader. I was gonna look at the one that goes in the bed. I was looking at the Douglas Dynamics products. They run about $5,000. They go in the bed. You can put 1.5 yards of salt in it. This is only 250, so that's even pushing it for 250. But I didn't have that many clients. I think I was like right on the edge where there was one more client that I'd be plowing for, but they didn't want to go ahead and do the salting, didn't want to pay the price for the salting. If that one more client would have went for it, I probably would have sprung for the bigger spreader. But you know, also I had to kind of think about the fact that it'd be a huge expense, and how am I going to load it? I have to constantly have a way to get the salt all the way up into it, and I don't have a huge yard or anything. I don't have any bobcats or anything or a place to store salt, so it kind of doesn't really make sense in my situation. I'd always have to rely on the supplier to load me up, where that's not necessarily always a good thing because the supplier's not always open. And I also have to think about when it gets really cold and the whole entire thing can freeze and all that kind of stuff. So I went ahead and just went with the walk behind spreader. Even the tailgate one that I wanted was like $3,000, so I figured I'd hold off for this year, get a little bit more experience under my belt before I go ahead and do the big spreaders. So anyway, I'm gonna load this up and I'll see you guys at the first property. Alright, so here we are at the property that we're gonna be doing salt for. I have 2 of these properties, and they're both within the same very close area. But you can see there's still some salt here from the last time. You can see the rock salt there. It's been able to melt the last little half of inch of snow we got, and we got another little bit of snow, less than a half an inch overnight. But that's not the reason I'm here for salt. The reason that I'm here is because of these downspouts here in the front of the property. So as you can see, we got some salt still here, but it's covered up right now. But underneath this snow, there's nothing but a sheet of ice here. From here, where you can see this downspout right here, they're getting a ton of ice built up here. This is all ice right here, and they're getting a lot of ice. This whole area right where you get out of the vehicle, this whole area is ice. All this It's all ice coming down from the downspout. And then it really makes it hard to see because now that there's snow on top of it, it makes it really hard to notice it. So usually this doesn't happen here, but it's just the conditions recently where, again, you got this ice coming through here where you can't even really see it. Usually this doesn't happen, but the recent conditions, for whatever reason, caused excessive amounts of ice. So I guess we had the snow melting off the roof, right combination of things. Again, right here we got a downspout, but it's got a plastic diverter on it, putting it this way toward the grass, but it wasn't enough because now this is all ice underneath here. This is all just ice, and coming this way, it just keeps going and going. So this whole area here, and then it comes down here, and this is, again, all this is ice. Right where, you know, someone's gonna get out of the car probably 30, 40 times in a day. This is ice that's kind of slushy, but 30, 40 times a day, and potentially soot right there. So it's just one of those things. Over here, there has been enough salt to kind of keep things working good, but it's just this front area where it's just way too much runoff from the downspouts, where you just got all this ice in the front of the property. So I'm just gonna go ahead and salt it. That way it'll be good. Ooh, almost slipped myself, jeez. Like I say, it's very tricky. This ice is kind of tricky because it's to the point now where it's hard to see it, and once it becomes hard to see, it makes it way easier to slip. Like, I didn't even know that there's ice right here because it's covered up by snow, and that makes it really dangerous. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and salt it. The last thing we want is someone to fall, and I think that I need to focus most of my salt here in the front of the property. So anyway, guys, see you in a few.
Introducing the incomparable, the great, the one, the only, the mighty Brock.
All right, so here's a shot of the salt we put down. Put down 100 pounds of salt just in the front where there was ice underneath the snow, which is really hard to see. I think that's pretty much taken care of. And out of that 100 pounds, I really focused a lot of the salt here where you got your downspout coming down, and thicker ice pretty much made it not slippery there. Again, you have a thick patch of ice coming through here. This was snow covered before, which is extremely dangerous because snow cover makes it hard to see the ice underneath, so you can't even prepare for it. A lot of people will just step on that and they go right down. Again, all throughout here, spots in between cars where there was ice underneath the snow, which was definitely a huge slipping hazard. This is where the bulk of it, because before when I checked it out, there's patches of ice throughout here. I actually slipped here myself. But I think that's a benefit with just going with the walk behind salt spreaders, because you really walk every property and you see the conditions. I think if you just came and blasted through here with a truck, you'd leave a lot of areas still covered in ice or slippery spots that you wouldn't notice. Again, I focused a lot of salt here on this area here where you got your downspout and you got ice coming down. A lot of it's already melted. Here you can see a pile of salt. This has all been kind of salted. Here's another little pile of salt, and In a few hours, it should pretty much melt down, especially with the sun coming out. We're hitting about 20 degrees today, 20, 25 degrees. So, you know, this area, really thick salt, or really thick ice here, and we salted it real heavy. And it should go down, should go away, but at the very least, it is not slippery, you know. So it's easy to walk on it without falling. A lot of people, I think, are getting out of the cars and going in front here and walking up this little bit of space here, kind of like a walkway. So I think it's important to make sure that's clear, as well as spaces in between when people get out of the cars. Talking about older people, you know, they like to slip and fall. So do everything we can to prevent that from happening. This is $80. We put down 4 bags, so we put down 200 pounds. As you see, we got good coverage here. There was some residual salt left over from before, but pretty good coverage here in this area that's clear, that's melted. You can see pretty good coverage. And if you look at the snow here, you can also see all these little specks is all salt. So we got good coverage. The whole lot will melt. But $80, 4 bags. Bag of salt's like $8. So we're in for what? I think that's $32. Bag of salt is usually $8, but the way I bought it, it's a little bit cheaper than $8 because I got the entire pallet. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I haven't done the math on it, but I know it's a lot less than $8. It's $8 if you buy it individually. So they knocked $100 off of that whole pallet. I haven't done the math on that to see how much cheaper that is, but it's definitely less than $8. But I had to say $8 just because I like to say $8 just because that is how much it would cost if you bought it individually. So, you know, $80, $32, right around the corner from the house. You do have to get up early to make it to these properties. So I like to do everything when nobody's on the lot, especially with these smaller lots, because you can only imagine this lot fills up really good. This dentist office, there's 2 dentists at this office, so that's kind of why this place is so busy all the time. So it's good to go ahead and salt it. It's a very busy place, a lot of people in and out, and a lot of risk. So they've been pretty cool about me and my salting. And I know it's expensive every day. Well, not every day, but a couple times a week you can end up getting hit for salt, and it's definitely not a cheap thing. But anyway, see you guys in the truck. Alright guys, I just got done salting and going for a morning drive here in my Super Duty. Really been enjoying this truck. I also got a 2018 F-150, but this 2019 F-250 has been really nice. I mean, it's just an XL, but I've been really enjoying it. It's a simple lifestyle, but nothing like that sunrise over the water. Beautiful scene there. But yeah, just finished salting the properties. Just the one needed it. The other one that I do is a black top. It doesn't have downspouts on the property. So the last time I salted it was pretty good. It melted everything down. So I think that one's okay. But the other one that I did, that I showed you guys, always has ice on it. It's got a very aggressive pitch to it. It's got downspouts on it. So I just check it every morning, make sure it looks up to par, and sometimes every night, and you know, make sure that it will be appropriate for them to open for business. But tell me what you guys think. This is my first year in salting, so I'm just showing what I do, and any input would be appreciated from the veterans. It's one of those things though, like salting and putting the content out on YouTube. I think a lot of people put a lot of content out online when they're not necessarily experts, and that's not what I am trying to do. Like, I'm not necessarily saying how to do it right now at this point, but I'm just pretty much sharing my experience with it, being that I'm not an expert. And the category per se right now. I've done salting before, but this is my first time doing it myself. Usually I've hired a subcontractor to do it, but I haven't had a good experience doing that because they don't care. Like, they're just coming out, they're dumping whatever salt they feel like dumping. Maybe sometimes it'll be a lot, maybe sometimes it'll be a little. Maybe they want to dump out their whole spreader, their V-Box on your one little property just to clear out their V-Box, or maybe they want to just barely do enough salt. They don't care if it's icy or not. And I think that is a huge benefit with going with the walk behind spreader, because you have the opportunity to see how the property looks and really where the salt needs to go, instead of just coming in and dumping it real fast and leaving. But I think it's still a good thing for me to upgrade down the road. But that's a good thing about the XL. You got to really set the temperature to how you want it, and you go by feel. But I think it's a good thing to upgrade to a bigger spreader down the road. But it's nice to have that insight where I've actually had the walk behind spreader, and I've done it that way, so I really do understand the property. I don't know. I don't think it'd be a good thing to just go right to the big spreader right off the bat. And also got to be cognizant of the fact that in order to get that bigger spreader, I would need some properties that would potentially empty that spreader out more. It would have to flow more than how it does now. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much how I'm doing the salting. I set up my contracts with my clients so that I have the power to do the salting when I feel like it's ready, or when I feel like it needs it. I'm billing after the fact, after each salting. Like I say, those small properties, they're $80. The other one that I got two of the small ones for $80, but the other one that I quoted was like for $175, and it needed like a lot more. It needed a lot more salt, but the owner of that property didn't want to go for it, didn't want to pay it, so that's kind of why I held off on the big spreader. Then also at the same time, I was really looking at the bulk spreaders, but at the end of the day, I can get away with the regular spreader that can't handle bulk salt, because at the end of the day, I'm probably going to be using bagged material anyway. I would just like the idea of going and getting loaded with, salt from the salt supplier, bulk salt, because it's cheaper. But man, it's not that big a deal. Small properties I have just use bag salt the whole time. But I don't know. But comment below, do you think it's crazy, this entire business? It's pretty wild when you think about it. Like, we're out here doing this snow, and we're committing to coming out here no matter what the conditions are, and doing our service. Like, we're out here before anybody gets up and makes it to work. That's crazy to think that you're gonna get up and you're gonna be on time before anybody else is on time for work, for business, and you're not gonna be late. You're gonna commit to that. You're not gonna be late, and you're gonna do it in the worst weather possible. It's very interesting. But anyway, comment below. That's it for the video. Hope to hear from you soon, and have a great day. Bye.